Bienvenidos, and welcome to Mexissippi, where hotty toddy doesn't sound quite like you remember it, and you can't order local grits or be attended at the hospital without speaking un poquito de español. Sound far-fetched? Actually, it's not. Spanish was first spoken here in the South dating back to the 1500s. Join me as we prepare for an emerging bilingual Mississippi. About 200 years ago, a Spanish-speaking Mexico controlled a large portion of the South and Southwest. And the imprints of this linguistic and cultural heritage can be seen all throughout Mississippi. For example, as seen in this historic marker of Fort Nogales. And how about two of Mississippi's greatest cultural legacies, food and the blues? So, what makes a Mississippi tamale so special, besides being delicious, of course? It has to do with the mix of languages and cultures in the Delta. And you're not going to believe this. The first Spanish-speaking newspaper printed in the United States of America was not printed in Los Angeles or New York, but rather in Louisiana in 1808. And as you can see by the title, its name was El Mississippi. So a Spanish-speaking Mexico is really our neighbor. We likely share some wonderful seafood through the Gulf of Mexico, and if you wanted to arrive by next weekend at the borders of Mexico by bike, you could do it. Be sure to stop along the way and grab some of those tamales. And in fact, the United States of America holds the second largest Spanish-speaking population in the entire world, at close to 60 million, only superseded by Mexico itself. And the fastest growing region in the United States of America for Hispanics? Yep, it's right here in the South. The United States Census predicts that by 2060, 1 in 4 of our population will be Hispanic, meaning that we will be bilingual, speaking English and Spanish to varying degrees. And I have a few ideas that I'd like to share with you on how we can embrace this change and make it positive for everybody. And I want you to know that this is personal to me. It's more than just my professional and my goals as an educator. You see a picture here of my beautiful wife, Ala. She as well is a linguist, and culture and language study brought her to achieve many of her personal and career goals. In our home, we're raising our son to be bilingual so that he can connect with his heritage in Belarus. And my father is an immigrant from a small village in Greece. He came here to the United States of America with the same dream as many do, that his children would be provided a better future. My sister and I were the first in our families to graduate with an advanced degree. And what did this do for me? As an adult, I was able to go back, learn Greek, and reconnect to my identity, and learn more about my father and his history, and live with my family in Greece. And I hope that we'll be able to afford this opportunity to many more in the United States and in our region. One of the ways that we're working on this is right here at the University of Mississippi in the Socioling Lab. Students and I are working to discover what does it really mean to be Hispanic in Mississippi, and what does it sound like when our unique variety of English comes in contact with the unique variety of Spanish spoken here. That's something that we hope to uncover here in the coming years. Here's an example of how this work can benefit the students in the classroom, in the lab, and in our community. This is Mario. He's one of my previous students, Mexican-American, who hoped to reconnect with his culture and his heritage. Like many students here, at a certain point, he had lost proficiency in Spanish, and only at the university level was he able to reconnect with that language and culture. He was taking Spanish linguistics courses, and we designed a research project that allowed him to work on Spanish in the community. Mario, as well, was one of the first in his family to graduate with a college degree, and he went on later to teach abroad. So, like many examples that we have in our community of Mario, their parents are hard workers, very visible in sectors such as agriculture or construction. However, I want you to see that their students are going to be your neighbors, and they're likely to be some of the future leaders of our state. As the data suggests here, the Hispanic children are among the fastest growing in the primary and the secondary schools. And this is only likely to continue to increase. As well, at the university level, more and more Hispanics are achieving advanced degrees, and universities are offering more and more courses on Spanish as a heritage and as a second language. And again, this is good news. Why? Because bilingualism is good for everybody. Bilinguals have been shown to be more creative, have greater economic advantages, and even fight off diseases such as Alzheimer's. So being bilingual is good for you. And we know that learning another language is, well, easier when you're young. And so why don't we do more to promote bilingualism at the school level early on when kids have the best attempt or advantage at learning that second language? Well, I was hoping you would ask. Let me share something with you. Dual language immersion. So in this curriculum design, what we do is we pair in our example, the Hispanic students. We combine the Hispanic with the non-Hispanic students in the same classroom, and they learn the regular curriculum that they would otherwise. Math, science, arts, 50% of the time in Spanish and 50% of the time in English. So what happens? We have a bilingual advantage for our children, and they come out learning as much or more, which I'm going to show you here in a second, as they would otherwise. So this is positive for everybody. As you can see here, there are currently 800 dual language immersion programs throughout the United States, and Mississippi is still waiting for its first one. So what does the data show? As you can see here in the top two green lines, those students in the dual language immersion programs, by about grade 5 and 6, they actually start to outperform their monolingual peers on the English-based state tests. Let me say it again. They're learning Spanish, another language, another culture, they're getting that bilingual advantage, and they're doing better in English. However, I want to point out another critical point that we can observe in this graph. It's not until about the 5th or the 6th grade that this acceleration starts to happen. So what does that tell us? It tells us that it takes time. As anybody in the audience who's tried to learn a second language will tell you, it's not an overnight affair. It is something that takes time and commitment and dedication. And this is something that we can do if we're all on board, from the administration down to the teachers to the local Hispanic and non-Hispanic households. Let me share with you, as I begin to close, some data from a study that we conducted in 2013 in a small county in North Carolina, which may be very similar to the number of Hispanics that we'll see here in the coming years. So after a year-long study where we brought in national experts, we conducted focus groups, we met with administrators, curricular specialists, parents of the Hispanic and the non-Hispanic households. Well, as you can see in this graph, in that blue bar there, the highest one, you can see that it was the Hispanic households that were most eager to have a bilingual dual language immersion program. And the non-Hispanic households and even the administrators themselves were more likely to indicate a maybe or a no. And the surprising thing is that they also understood the advantages of bilingualism. However, as we saw in the previous slide, there's some hesitation in the beginning. And I can empathize. I understand as well. My son Simon Patrick, as we said, is learning 2 languages at home. And I understand wanting the best for them and how tough it can be to watch them in those critical years as they develop bilingually. But again, it's something that we can do if we are all bought in and if we're all on board. And I have good news for you. Mississippi has recently approved the Seal of Biliteracy, thereby encouraging and rewarding those students who obtain proficiency in a language other than English. And this is at the high school level. But again, my call to action is that we begin early, right there at kindergarten, with programs such as dual language immersion. Again, Spanish is on the rise here in the South. Bilingualism is good for us. This is something that benefits everybody, the Hispanic and the non-Hispanic households alike. I hope that you'll join me in preparing for this future. And in closing, let me remind you, if somebody asks us, was it Spanish or was it English that was first spoken here in the South? Well, you'll tell them it was Spanish. And if they ask you what was the name of the first Spanish-speaking newspaper in the United States of America, you'll let them know it was El Mississippi. And if your local school asks you, is bilingual education good? You'll say, sí, es muy positivo. Thank you.